that's my 2 cents. It's sure worked for me in the past and still working for me currently. So I hope it helps you guys, and let me know, you know, any situations that you guys have had in the past and with doctors and all that good stuff. Hi you guys. Okay, I'm gonna make a super crazy short video, which is normally not my style, but this one I think can be covered super fast. It's about doctors in general, about how to interview a doctor, how to fire a doctor, how to keep a doctor accountable for your health, and how to praise a doctor. So yeah, you're interviewing a doctor. You don't have to take the first person that you see. Several of my high subspecialties, meaning the ones that I have to see all the time, which are for my biggest sort of complaint issues, diseases, syndromes, whatever you want to call it. The first time that I met them, I literally asked them, why did you want to be a doctor? And specifically a doctor under this subspecialty. And it surprised me over the years as to what they've said. Some of them have incredibly poignant stories as to why they chose a certain direction. A sick spouse, a sick child, absolutely made a difference into which direction they decided to take their medical career, which I thought was super neat. If you are going to a subspecialty, and one of the ones that I asked, she literally acted like I had slapped her across the face when I asked why did she decide to work in that subspecialty. She was real pissed off. And her answer to, you know, why did you choose this subspecialty is, well, I looked it up in medical school and I thought it was kind of cool. So I decided to do that. Like, it was just kind of like it didn't give me a lot. So that's rough. But in my opinion, that's exactly what you're doing. You're interviewing a doctor. If you were interviewing someone to work for you, that you are going to pay money to, that you are going to invest time in, that you are putting your faith into them, that they know what they're doing, that they meet all of the criteria that you are looking for that position, it's an interview. And I think maybe some people might have an easier time talking to a doctor if you put it in that frame of mind for yourself. So just something to keep kind of in your noggin for the next time you have to meet a doctor. The next thing was, I had someone tell me, someone actually very close to me, when I started making videos, that I needed to be careful as to what I said about my doctors, because if any doctor, not even just that a particular doctor, but any doctors got wind that I was, you know, saying negative things about how they handled something, that no doctor is gonna wanna work with me. So my answer to that is, fuck that. We hold doctors in such high esteem that we think so many of them are super beyond special, and they have more education and more knowledge and more practice and whatnot, that we hold them to a higher standard. I believe how they take criticism, how they treat their patients, absolutely should be held to the same standard. If there is a doctor that makes you wait an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours for you to see them, that's ridiculous. Nobody should have to do that. When you show up 5 minutes late for your appointment, what is the first thing that they tell you? You missed your appointment and you're gonna have to make another one. But of course, the standards are different when it comes to the doctor. Oh, well, they had an emergency, and that happens. I very much understand that that happens. But if it happens every single time you see a doctor, then there's something else going on. I have a very tumultuous relationship currently with my primary doctor. There are lots of factors as to why I have not changed primary doctors. The biggest reason was the fact that I did not have all of my diagnoses in place. And so it's very hard to search for a new primary doctor who you're hoping can know all about your special snowflake. So I have not changed my primary. I have started seeing another physician's assistant in the office so that I don't have to see my primary right now, but inevitably I'm gonna have to change my primary. So I will be using my own advice when I interview a new one to make sure that they can handle all of me as opposed to just a tiny little bit. Having somebody look over your entire care, it's a huge thing. And you should be able to trust them. You should be able to talk to them about anything. You should be able to bring anything up to them, good, bad, or otherwise, and feel completely comfortable doing that, as opposed to, I think I have another sinus infection. I'm just gonna suck it up because I don't want to deal with my primary. There you go. That's when you know that you really, really, really need to find another one. Okay, so that's two. Okay, let's talk about firing a doctor. It happens. It happens. You can have personality conflicts with your doctors. It can be simple as logistics. They move to another office and that's farther away from you, and you logistically can't get there anymore, so you have to find another one. There's lots of reasons for firing a doctor. How you handle it is completely up to you and what you feel comfortable with. I am a little bit of a in-your-face sort of person. I don't have any problem with conflict. I don't have any issues telling it how it is. So me just walking away from a doctor, especially if I have a problem with them, is not something that I'm hardwired to be able to do. But for some people, that may be the easiest thing that you can do, to just find another doctor. Obviously you'll have to have your records transferred over, so they, could potentially ask you, what's going on. What you tell them is completely up to you. You really don't owe them anything if you're changing doctors for, certain reasons and whatnot. And it really does come down to your health. Like, if it makes you feel better finding another physician, then you find another physician. Especially with a lot of the stuff that I have, I don't have a lot of choices where I'm at specifically, because I live kind of in the middle of podunky nowhere. And so finding other doctors, I have to travel. 95% of my doctors are an hour to an hour and a half away. And that's stressful, having to drive so much. So it just, sometimes you have to make concessions on finding the right doctor, but you have to give up, travel time, that you're having to travel so much more. You're having to give up work and take off time at work. That makes a huge, big difference. So there's a lot of factors into it, but what it really comes down to is, if you don't trust your doctors, they should not be your doctor. There's absolutely other ones out there, and hopefully they're gonna be close enough to you that they can help, and you have that camaraderie. A lot of it with mine, I have so many subspecialties. I think I'm up to 12 or 13, something like that. I need all of them to have the personality that they are going to be just fine talking to somebody else. So right now, I need rheumatology, cardiology, GI, and I was thinking there was a fourth one, and allergy and immunology. I need all four of them conferenced in to get a plan together for what my treatment's supposed to be. I'm having to have 2 more tests. I have one in 2 days, and then I have another one in 2 weeks, to try to get a couple more things lined out and figure out exactly what I'm dealing with. And I'm having genetics testing done right now that's not going to be back for a couple months. There's always a lot going on, but I need them all to be one of a team. And that makes a huge, big difference. And thankfully, all of mine right now are very, very good at working together, which is super, super awesome. The last piece is praising a doctor. I think a lot of people, when they encounter bad stuff, they complain. It's just, that's what people do. So if a doctor is late, you want to complain. If they lose blood work, you want to complain. If your appointment gets messed up and somebody doesn't show up, like a tech, and you've already driven 2 hours and sat there for 3 hours waiting for a test. Yeah, I've had that happen. And they don't show up. Obviously you want to complain about that. But if something good happens, praise them. I don't think they get that a lot. I don't think in general people do that as much as they should. I am very, very big on positive reinforcement. If they do something amazing, I'm gonna tell them that they've done something amazing. When I was getting into my cardiologist for the first time, my appointment wasn't scheduled for November, which is still however many months away. And when I was put on the waiting list to try to get in sooner, I obviously did. And my nurse, for that office for cardiology, called me and asked me if I could make an appointment, and an earlier appointment. And I was like, okay, you know, when is it? It was literally the day after. Like, they called me at like 2 in the afternoon and I needed to be there at like 10:30 the next morning. So I had to rearrange all sorts of stuff, but it was amazing. I mean, it literally cut 6 months off of my wait time to get all of my cardiac stuff figured out and tested for and whatnot. And I told her on the phone that day that she was my newest best friend, and if she was in front of me, I would have laid a huge big kiss on her, because it was amazing. Like, it made my entire being, it was so much easier because I knew I was gonna get help so much faster. And still to this day, Michelle, I love you, I love you. We have had such a good relationship ever since, because it started on such a positive note. Not too long ago, I had an appointment with my cardiologist. I waited 3 hours. Yes, I did say 3 hours to see him. And by the end of it, I was super pissy. I mean, like, hands down, I was ready to walk because, hi, I've been waiting for 3 hours. It's ridiculous. And when he walked in the door, right when I'm fixing to leave, and the nurse knew I was leaving, he walks in, starts it off with an apology, which obviously helped, and he was very forthcoming as to what went wrong, as to why he had taken so long to get to me. And it was other things going on with 3 other patients, and long story short, it was just one of those days. And each of the patients had a 20-minute appointment. Each of the patients took 3 hours. Each of the patients took 1 hour apiece. And the last patient, he had to leave that room to come talk to me and deal with all of my stuff. And then he was going back in that room to finish answering the questions of this patient that he was talking to. And he, you know, apologized again and whatever. And I told him, which is one of the things that makes me like him so much, is if I have questions, he takes the time to answer them. Not like, look it up yourself, or I'll give you a handout or anything. Like, he answers the question. And I told him, especially with all of our special snowflake, a lot of us in the same office have the same things. We all have EDS, we all have POTS, we have cardiac issues and whatnot. And I said, it's one of the things that makes me trust him, because he doesn't act like he's rushed. He stays and he answers all the questions that I have in a very, very full manner. He gives me printouts at the end of the appointment of exactly what we talked about, anything that I need to change, do other appointments, tests that I need to have done. It's very, very thorough. And it really, really, it makes me feel more confident. And so I told him that day, and I thanked him for taking so much time for all of us, for each of the patients. And this was after I had already waited 3 hours, and he thanked me, and he said how much that meant, especially in light of, you know, what a really rough afternoon that was for me. So it makes a difference. So much of it comes down to, you have to be your own advocate. You have to stand up for yourself. That's with testing, that's with insurance, that's with doctors, new, old, getting rid of, changing to something else. It makes a difference that you have to stand up for yourself, and you have to be your biggest advocate. I've learned that up one side and down the other. So make them accountable, make sure that you praise them, interview them. You know, if you're gonna have to find another doctor, then absolutely do that. But that's my 2 cents. It's sure worked for me in the past and still working for me currently. So I hope it helps you guys, and let me know, you know, any situations that you guys have had in the past and with doctors and all that good stuff. So comment below and give me a thumbs up and subscribe below too, and lots of other videos to come. So I love you guys. Bye.